Go. So, welcome back to another Half and Half Scarf football podcast with me, Nick, and my mate Dom. Apologies for last week. We didn't actually release a new podcast episode, but we just had some scheduling challenges for Dom and I getting our diaries together. But we're bringing you a cracking one today, and we're bringing you a cracking one based on stuff that I've seen all this week on the likes of TalkSport, social media, etc. And it's discussions around world-class players. It's overused as far as I can see, and for me, it's a scarcer phenomenon than we might imagine. Or is it? Am I wrong? Am I right? We'll find out when we talk to Dom. We're going to lead up to what represents world class first. We are going to talk about some other aspects of why we might find that we've got less than we think, or why it's less of a phenomenon than it used to be as a result of the conversations. But without further ado, let's introduce you, as ever, to my mate Dom, my co-host for the Half an Hour Scout Football Podcast. Dom, how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. I'm really good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We normally do the football shirt thing. Obviously, the fact that you couldn't be asked, we won't bother. I know you've just been running around all day today, so you just jumped out the
Oh,
shower.
you know what else it was, mate? Now we're talking about it. I have been really busy, but I just didn't feel it for any of my shirts today. So I just,
Okay.
sometimes you're just not feeling it. So I
Yeah.
just didn't put one on. Other times I can't wait to put one on and show it off, but wasn't feeling it today. But then it means there's another week to,
Yeah.
get the shirt out again. So yeah, I'm
Well,
comfy in me hoodie today. I'm liking yours, by the way.
the reason you know why I'm wearing mine, mate.
Oh yes.
I'm wearing my Dortmund shirt, home shirt for this season. It might be last season actually. I think it's last season's. With the sponsor that Dom doesn't like, One and One.
One on one.
But I'm wearing this because today, this very morning, our tickets came through for the Dortmund Augsburg game at the Signal Iduna Park in March, on March the 13th. And you, me, and Rob are doing our annual trip to Dortmund, which involves lots of beer and lots of fun and lots of yellow and black. So I'm wearing it in honour of that. So let's move on from that. Can't wait for the weekend, by the
I
way, mate. It's
can't
been
wait
brilliant.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Really am.
Oh, yeah, and our tickets, thank you to Borough BVB, the official fan club of both Middlesbrough and Borussia Dortmund as a connected two clubs. We've got those at face value for about 30 quid a pop, and we're right next to the yellow wall on the corner. Looks
Yeah.
brilliant. Right, moving on. More on that when we come back. We might do a report from, we could do a report from Signal Iduna, couldn't we, on,
I think we could do a pod on a match day in Germany, a match day in Dortmund, because we've done it a few times, and I think we could do a good one, mate. And yeah, I think also more to come on Borough BVB at some point in the future on a pod as well. So yeah,
exactly. Exactly. Right. Okay. I'm going to lead to world class, but the reason it's sort of two-thirds of the way through, but it's the main headline is this week I've seen lots of comments and I've heard lots of comments and I've just, seen debates and discussions around people genuinely falling out of love with football, particularly in the top flight in the Premier League, and football being less interesting. And there's been a lot of comments about that. And there was a great article by a guy called Daniel Story in the newspaper online. And he's put it down to a number of things, which I'll just read out to you, then we can have a discussion. He's talked about he's seeing an increase in fans booing at half-time and full-time. He's thinks the expectations on fans are unrealistic, given the fact that the clubs expect to be higher or better or whatever than they might ordinarily expect to be. He said there's a genuine disconnect between players and clubs. That's financial as well as emotional. Politically, we're all sick of FIFA, IFAB, VAR, World Cups, the corruption that goes with all that. And he feels like that clubs are taking fans for granted as customers and consumers rather than fans as they used to be. And one that you added into this was the risk seems to have gone out of football. There seems to be less risk taking. So is football less interesting? We covered on episode 19 and 14 if we thought football was better in the old days. This is not really about that. It's more about, are people falling out of love with football? And if so, what does football need to do about it? And what do fans need to do to get back on board. What's your thoughts on it seems really like an undercurrent at the moment in football kind of forums and Talk Sport and various other places and Five Live even. What do you reckon?
There's definitely something to it. I, as we know, regular listeners to this pod, I follow Everton and Middlesbrough, and the two feelings are chalk and cheese. Whether you're watching it on TV or you're fortunate like we are to be able to go to the game, I enjoy and feel the Borough games more than I do the Everton games. The Premier League just feels really sterile. It's for me. It feels like it's been more and more and more about money generation over the last few years and the last 10 years than anything else. And it's almost trying to play. It's almost trying to find safe, exact football. It's almost felt like the introduction of VAR, particularly, has stopped referees from actually refereeing games. And it just feels like we don't want any jeopardy anymore. We don't want any magic. We've talked before about the fact that you don't really see any Maverick players anymore. I don't know what it is, mate. The whole thing just feels like clubs aren't really taking care of their fans anymore. It's a really peculiar one for me to kind of try and sum up, but like a lot of the games, they just feel a little bit empty, a little bit dead, a little bit
Mm.
like the other day. I think I was talking to you about it on the phone when you were driving back from somewhere. We were chatting away, weren't we? And I was saying about the Everton game we went to against Bournemouth a couple of weeks ago, and we lost 2-1.
Mm.
And it was, I don't know if it's, you could say this is not, I'm not really sure if this is about, how the Premier League is and how boring football is, but it just felt, the actual game itself just felt so predictable. It's like we were 1-0 up, we were comfortable, we could have been 2-3 ahead. And then it's almost like, oh, do you know what? We can't be asked anymore. We'll just sit off. And I don't know what it is, but every fan in the ground knew what was coming. We knew Bournemouth were going to score.
Mm.
And we also knew after that, our heads had gone. And when they got the second, it was like, for fuck's sake. It was literally 10 minutes of, oh, we'll sit back, we'll sit back, we'll sit back. And then we played brilliant the last 25 minutes with 10 men, by the way. And it's like,
Mm.
if you can play like this and literally play them off the park with 10 men, why couldn't you do this with 11? It's like you've
Mm.
got Europe in your sights. Why can't you just play energized, exciting, expansive football that the fans want to see? It almost felt a bit like, oh yeah, we've kind of got this. Let's just, sit back a little bit. It's like, what are you sitting back for? What are
Mm.
you not playing for? It's like, a story of our season. Tarkovsky came out and said, it's like, what a load of shit. It's just like,
Yeah.
play better, do better, close them down. And it's things like that where I see so many matches where they're just like, you walk out and go, that match was pretty boring, to be honest. The last 20
Mm.
minutes were great, but it was because we were chasing something. And and at the end, I mean, in fairness, the fans got really behind them for 25 minutes. We were really trying to get them to get an equaliser. And then at the end, there was some booing. And the booing is basically, that's on you because you let that happen, because you sat off and let it
Yeah.
happen. And there seems to be quite a lot of stale, safe football, mate. I don't know if that's one of the, I might be really way off beam, but that feels like one of the things to me.
I'd say to you that I rarely get excited for like Super Sunday. I'm a Championship
Oh,
fan,
yeah.
obviously at Middlesbrough. I've had the absolute pleasure of being in the stadium for two consecutive Monday night games, and Middlesbrough away at Sheffield United a couple of weeks ago was a sensational game of football. It was like a brilliant advert for the Championship. It was a brilliant advert for football, and it was a bit like Thomas Hearns fighting Marvin Hagler in the 80s in their prime,
Yeah.
slugging it out, going toe to toe, gradually Borough asserting themselves football wise, playing really well against a really good side who on another day, could have got a draw out of it. But it was a hell of a game, and we obviously Borough won, so you're always buzzing when you come out. But I would say the following week, just gone on Monday, we drove down, Rob and I, to the bloody CBS arena for Coventry versus Borough. Borough were topped by 2 points. Coventry obviously been top for a long time, and Coventry won 3-1. There was reasons for that. I won't get into great tactics, actually, sort of kick shit out of Middlesbrough, long ball, hoof ball, etc., etc. But as a spectacle in the crowd, the crowd was up for it. Borough fans were up for it. Coventry fans were at the noisiest. Um, on another day, we get back to 2-1. Could have got the next goal. We gave away a penalty 17 seconds later. The whole game was, again, we lost that one, but we drove home and thought, Christ, that was some game, that.
It
Some
was,
atmosphere,
yeah,
some energy, and it felt like we were all invested. Coventry fans were invested. The Coventry team were invested with the fans. The noise was incredible. Borough fans were cheering the team on right to the end, and we lost. But we didn't stand there and boo. It was almost like, well, wow, what have we just seen? We've been unlucky. We're always unlucky against Coventry. I'm not knocking it. Coventry deserve to win. So I'm not, if you're watching this or listening as a Coventry fan, I'm not having a go. I'm not. You deserve to win. Tactically, you got that right. On another night, we could have got something out of it, but we didn't boo and we didn't feel disconnected. And is that because the Championship's just more blood and guts? It's just more accessible? It's
yeah.
more,
I
I don't know
think,
what it is.
yeah. I mean, I think it's a lot of those things. I mean, tickets are cheaper, but not much.
Phew.
But having said that, they probably are compared to the Premier League. If you're not a season ticket holder in the Premier League, they just rip you a new one. It's like even at Everton, it's like 70 quid for some matches. It's all on these category basis now. Go on,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah. QPR away, 42 quid.
42
I
quid.
mean, on a Sunday afternoon at 4:30, which Sky have changed it to, 42 quid away for a Championship game.
Yeah, but that's
Um,
another thing about Premier League football. It's like it's 70 odd quid for a ticket. So if a dad and lad want to go, you're talking sometimes, Christ alive, I don't know, 100 quid, 110
yeah,
quid. Two adults want to
yeah,
go, 140 quid. And that's like
yeah.
standard match day price. Who wants to pay for that? Nobody. Half the games I've watched at Everton this season at home have been that shit. If I'd paid 110 quid, 140 quid for two adults, I'd be absolutely seething. People don't want to do it. I'll tell you another reason why as well, mate. And this is affecting it because fans feel like clubs are trying to control everything. It's like
Yeah,
in the Premier League now, I think a lot of other clubs are doing it. Everton done it for years. You have to basically pay for a plastic season card now.
yeah.
They're really reluctant to give you one. Everything has. I like digital, and everything has to be digital. But what's really annoyed me now is I don't know. Say my daughter can't go to a game because I've got
Mm,
both. I hold both her tickets on my phone rather than individually in case she can't go, and then Liv can go, and I can just scan her in. Otherwise,
yeah,
it's on Mia's phone. It's a nightmare. I've physically got to take Mia's phone because I can't put her ticket. Well, you can only download it once. Once it's on a device, you can't switch it.
right.
But other things are, say Liv couldn't go, and I wanted to take, I don't know, say I was going to take a mate or something. He'd have to then become an Everton member and pay 50 quid for the season. Then I have to put him in my friends and family list online, and then I can transfer the ticket to him. Whereas you just feel like saying, why does he have to become a member? It's
It's
like
your ticket.
it's my ticket. I mean, I know they can say, well, it's not really. It's like it's clubs. It's like it's not. It's mine. I've paid for it for the season, so it's my seat. It's
Yeah,
for that year. It's mine because I've paid for it. So it is,
yeah,
isn't it? Really. So and clubs are doing this more where they're making it really difficult to transfer tickets to other family members or friends. And I think another reason why, and we've mentioned this before, because Sky are covering so many fixtures now, your fixture lists are all over the place. I
yeah,
can't. The last time we played on a Saturday was in December. The
yeah.
next play on a Saturday is at the end of March. I
Mm.
think Villa. I don't know how true this is. Villa fans, correct me if I'm wrong, and I might be getting the wrong end of the stick on this. But because of how successful Villa have been in Europe and everything else, I saw something the other day. If this is true, then it knocks what I've just said about Everton into a cock. Apparently, they haven't had a Saturday at 3 o'clock for over a year. Is that true,
Jesus.
Villa fans? But
Wow.
do you know what it does? I think sometimes it does impact on atmosphere, how you're feeling. Some people just aren't feeling it at 8 o'clock on a Monday. Endless. We've had so many Monday fixtures. Everton. It's Monday after Monday after Monday, or it's a
And Borough. And
Tuesday.
Borough, we'd have had three out of four on a Monday night, and the other one was on a Friday night. We haven't had an away game. And again, what Sky are doing, they're releasing them every week now. And I said we play Blackburn in March, middle of March. And I said to Rob before they came out, I said, that's scheduled at the moment for 3 o'clock Saturday. I guarantee it won't be 3 o'clock Saturday. Sure enough, yesterday came out.
12:30.
Borroway Blackburn at 12:30. They've moved our home game against Bristol City to 12:30. You're a Bristol City fan. That's just disgraceful. It's hard enough to get from Bristol to Middlesbrough for 3 o'clock kickoff. 12:30 kickoff is just unreal. But that's not. It is about falling out of love with
But
football.
it
It's
is a
about
bit
being
like that.
taken for granted, isn't it?
It is, but I do think fixture times do sometimes impact on atmosphere or how fans feel because it does disrupt people being able to get to and from games. Some people think, oh, 12:30 on a Saturday, it's quite a nice time for a football match. Honestly, I've seen that many 12:30 kickoffs, and sometimes fans just feel a little bit like a bit
Flat.
subdued or a bit flat, or they're just
Mm,
waking up and getting into the day. There's something about a 3 o'clock kickoff that if you just
yeah.
get things right and the team are on it, the fans just get so much more engaged than they do at 12:30. And don't talk to me about the endless Sunday kickoffs. I absolutely detest the 4:30 kickoffs on a Sunday. And the more you feel that you literally you can't remember the last time you saw a Saturday. And by the way, the last Saturday game we had, it was moved to 8 o'clock at night. The
Yeah.
last Saturday in before Christmas in Liverpool City Centre, just a nightmare.
As we speak, Middlesbrough tomorrow have got a home game against Oxford at 3 o'clock on Saturday. 3 o'clock on Saturday, I can't wait. I cannot wait, right? And the atmosphere will be fantastic. We had a 3 o'clock against Norwich at home a couple of weeks ago, so we're okay for home games, I think. We seem to be, except for Bristol City. It's away games that they keep changing us. But it devalues the product, and I call it a product because fans buy into an experience. And if that experience is already tough enough to get into, they're already going to feel disconnected, aren't they, from the
Yeah,
game? I can't believe the amount of people, I genuinely cannot believe the amount of people who've used the phrase falling out of love with football, or I used to go and I don't even watch it anymore, or
there's
whatever. Now, hang on, you are a big fan of non-league football, low league football, and I know when we did a non-league special, didn't we, going back a while, at the first international break, and non-league football. Oh, and by the way, I should say, all attendances for the EFL Championship and National League are on the increase. That's not coincidental. I think fans of the Premier League, particularly, are either being priced out and decided to move somewhere else. I don't think you can move from a Premier League club to a Championship club. I think that's too close. But you could move from a Premier League club to, a League Two or a National League club and start, giving your local team. If I felt disconnected from Borough, I would probably go and follow York City because I live in York, and I don't feel disconnected from Borough because of what they do, and how long I've been a season ticket holder, and the product which is the Championship. If we get promoted and I have to sit through some shite next season in the Premier League, and I hate the VAR and all that kind of thing, I feel less engaged with it. I'll
you will.
either want
I
us,
guarantee you will. You will.
I'll either want us to come back down so we can enjoy the Championship again, or I might just think, you know what, this is not really. I mean, I won't, but you can see why people do, can't you?
It doesn't feel the Premier League doesn't feel honest, and I know it's very easy to say, VAR has ruined it. VAR has absolutely destroyed football. And
Yeah.
it's because it feels like it's one rule for one and then a different rule for somebody else. And in fairness, if you actually look at it closely, you might find that even the big six have been aggrieved in various different ways. But they do seem to get more decisions favourably than other teams.
Mm.
It might sound like I've got a bit of chip on my shoulder, no, Everton, but there's so many decisions that have gone against us, penalties given and everything else, free kicks, sendings off. Some of them are justified, but there's so many that have just gone and been ignored in other games, or other big decisions have just not even been checked by VAR. And you're kind of thinking it is just so inconsistent. And it does lead to a feeling of you never celebrate a goal because there's
Mm.
always something where they have to go back and check literally to the kickoff of can we work this move back half an hour and see if we can
Yeah.
find something wrong with the goal. um you, 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 you you're so frustrated with the referees because their decision making is really inconsistent, and some of it you're just thinking, hang on, I'm really not seeing how that's just been given against us, because it's very similar to what was just we got a goal disallowed for that, but they're not. I can't really make the correlation.
Yeah.
You come back home trying to watch the highlights, trying to work out have we been shafted here or
Hmm.
was it okay? That's really killing the game. I think a lot of this save sterile football is killing the game. These mundane, constant, but goalie gets the ball, puts it down, defender stands there, they pass it to the defender then passes it back to the keeper, then they look and see if they can go and pass there, then they'll eventually kick it forward, and it's like, and then we lose the ball. It's like, do you know what? Just kick it forward and lose the ball. Don't waste time for 2 minutes. And then there's the other thing with reference. So many players constantly going down, rolling around
Yeah.
for an injury.
Yeah.
That happens a lot in the Premier. You don't honestly, you don't get that as much in the Championship or the lower leagues. Players just tend to get back up and get on with it. In the Premier
Hmm.
League, like literally, I watch it every week live. Players rolling around like they've literally been gunned down by three people. And as soon as they get
Did,
the decision, they're up on the feet, bouncing around.
the ones that get me is when they don't get the decision, they're looking round, the referee's clearly, let play carry on, and then they get up like a spring chicken because they're
Or
obviously out
well,
of position, aren't they? Which is,
they
pretend to hold the head.
yeah, or they think I've made a dick of myself here. I'm just going to stay down and really make everyone think that I was really hurt, and then I'll slowly get up and look like I'm shaking it off. It's it's just there's so many things that it just feels like it's. If you look at all the things now that they do that waste time, I think you might be quite shocked at actually how long the ball's actually in play for. It doesn't really feel like you see teams really going for it, really kind of trying to do something different or exciting. It always seems to follow this very same rigid pattern. In the Championship, there seems to be a little bit more of, I don't know,
Well,
just
there's a variety. There's a variety of styles in the championship. Some still play 4-4-2. Some play sort of passing through the channels. Others play a bit of long ball. Others play kind of five at the back with wing backs, and the variety seems of teams. So obviously you get a different mix and match on the pitch, I think. But going back to refereeing, right? A couple of things. One is the referee in the FA Cup, Villa versus Newcastle.
yeah.
He put the VAR argument back 10 years, didn't he? Because he had an absolute Chris Kavanagh, wasn't it? He had an absolute nightmare. I don't know if you saw when he gave a free kick for a foul inside the box. It was so far inside the box, it was almost in the 6 yard box, and he gave it outside. What's his linesman doing? Because that's what's spoiling the game.
Oh,
Linesmen, I don't care what you call them, fourth official, whatever, they're called linesmen, right? Linesmen or lineswomen, they are shit. They look to the referee before they move the flag one way or the other. They don't make a decision. They don't help the referee. Very rarely do you see a linesman flagging before the referee's made a decision to give a free kick or otherwise. You rarely see a linesman risking the wrath of the fans by saying, I've seen something and I need to raise that. So the quality of officials, with the diving, the cheating, the time wasting, the stale, predictable pass it from the back. And I heard Arsenal fans, obviously last night they drew with Wolves and they were 2-0 up, which is funny. It wasn't funny because I hate Wolves, obviously. I don't hate Wolves, but I hate Rob Edwards for reasons that you obviously are aware. But nonetheless, Arsenal bottled it last night against Wolves. And Arsenal fans were saying their predictability is, and this is Arsenal, top of the league, by the way, is keeper gets it, pass it out to Saliba. Saliba pass it across to Gabriel. Gabriel pass it back to the keeper. Keeper pass it out to whoever's Calafiori. Calafiori pass it up, to the guy in front of him, who then pass it back to Gabriel to Saliba. And it's like, for Christ's sake, you're supposed to be top of the league. You played against a team who are bottom of the league. You're supposed to be 1,000 times better than they are as actual footballers. Why are you not going for it? And it's the sterility of the whole thing, isn't it?
that's another thing. I'm not having a go at Arsenal fans. I'm really not. I don't mind if you win the league. I really don't. I'd rather a team like Villa win it because I think they're more interesting to watch, and that's just my own personal opinion. And
And mine.
there's a lot of Arsenal players I like individually that I think are really great players. And the compliment I will give you is it's always a frustration of mine at Everton that possession wise we can just be absolutely careless and terrible. But when we really want to, we actually can be good in possession if we just get off our asses and make an effort. Arsenal are brilliant in possession; they can hold the ball really well. But the downside of that is a lot of what they do isn't particularly imaginative. So it is, for me, quite sterile and boring to watch. That game before Christmas, Arsenal and Everton at Hill Dickinson, which they won 1-0. Such a boring game of football. and and I have to say, and I don't mean this derogatorily, I don't, but if Arsenal win the league, and it'd be nice to have someone different win the league, when you look back on it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time, will anyone say it was memorable? No,
No,
not at all, because they just don't play interesting football. They are
no.
terrible, and this is what I'm talking about. Is everyone's into all this, endless possession football, holding the ball, being good on the ball, passing it around. You very rarely see any more of, let's just, someone who's good on the ball who can, take a daring shot outside on 20 yards or go on a mazy run or, knock a great big long ball. Someone takes it down. It's a superb little quick cross across. I don't know. It all just seems to be about data and stats and analytics and
Yeah.
what's the best way to minimize risk in this game that means there's an optimum chance that we'll win it without taking any, do you know what I mean? There's the magic and it just seems like the magic and the fun just seems to have gone. I
The
haven't watched
mid,
a single exciting game at the Hill Dickinson this year. In fairness, we've struggled at home. We've only won 4, we've lost 5 and drawn 4. But in all of those games, there was the odd we beat Palace at the last minute, which makes you feel good. But it wasn't a
yeah,
great game of football. Brighton,
yeah.
we won, wasn't a great game of football. Forest, we won, wasn't a great game of football. There's not been much really where you've really got to be seen and walked out of the ground and thought, oh my God, that was superb.
Which is a brilliant segue into the purpose of the original question on the podcast episode this week is, you know, is world class a thing? Do we have world class players? Is entertainment and world class entertainment a thing of the past? And we covered Mavericks and lacking personality, but Maverick football is in episode 27. We got a lot of love for that episode, mentioning lots of fantastic players from the past who you would pay good money to because they'd light up the stadium with a little bit of skill or a bit of personality or whatever it might be. But I'm the reason I've put this out there, and please, if you're driving, slow down because I'm going to share with you a statement that made me nearly crash my car the other night. I was listening to Drive Time on Talksport with Andy Goldstein, who is Mr. Man United, and Darren Bent, who's probably the most boring presenter I've ever come across, but nonetheless, and they were talking about world class. And they had no idea. Neither of them had an idea what world class meant. It's an overused phrase, right?
Yeah.
And Darren Bent used this phrase, which made me nearly crash my car. He said, well, of course, Gary Neville was world class because he played for 12 years as the first choice right back at Man United. I was like, what? What the hell are you talking about? Gary Neville, world class. Gary Neville wasn't even that good for Man United or for England. He was playing a great side. He was well protected by people in front of him, your Keanes, your Beckhams or whatever. I'm not saying he wasn't a good footballer. World class Darren Bent, have a word yourself. And it made me think.
In the same blueprint of that, you could say, well, Phil Neville's world class because he played in Man United's midfield for I think a good 7 or 8 years before he came to Everton.
Yeah,
Good player, good pro. Was he world class?
God,
Absolutely
no.
no way.
Yeah. Now,
You could use that. Gary Neville was very, very lucky in that, yes, he was a good player, but he played with exceptional players in an
yeah,
exceptional team in an exceptional era. If he was
yeah.
playing the game now, he'd look abjectly shit.
He would. And I remember his last game for Man United. I can't remember who it was against. And at half time, I said to Rob, he'll retire after this because he'd lost the players in front of him when Man United had turned into a pretty abject sort of side. And he got rinsed time and time again in the first half by someone because he wasn't that good at football. Anyway,
Wasn't that good a defender either.
No. So I've got a definition of world class and I haven't shared it with you. I haven't shared it with anyone. And it's my definition of world class. I want you to think about whether you agree with me, okay? So the first thing is, in their current form or prolonged form over a period, they are either the first, second, or third best player in the world in that position. That's the first thing. Second thing, that means they would walk into any team in the world in that position, any team, anywhere. They have to have some level of entertainment around their skill levels, and they have to be what I call to be world class, a generational talent. Now, if they're not generational talent, then they are good footballers on the world stage. That's fine. But stop calling people world class who are not world class. Okay? So I've got a list. Do you agree with those that characteristic, or have I
I
missed
do.
anything? Or
I do. I think it's a good measure, but particularly that it was the second to last one. I think is particularly good.
generational talent?
No, the other one, where I think if you've got players who are consistently producing the goods and doing
Yeah,
the, and performing and doing what they're best at, and they can do it week in, week out, and they can do that at any club and at any
yeah,
level or international level, that again for me is a measure of world class. It's not
yeah,
about, oh, they're not world class because they haven't won this tournament. No. I'm not saying that's winning a tournament's irrelevant. It's like
yeah,
I think I think a good measure of that is, and we've disagreed in the past about it because I love Harry Kane, and I know there's been
yeah.
times where you don't particularly like him, but I think he's a world class player
He
because
is.
week in, week out he would. And season in, season out, he would get 30 plus goals, sometimes in a fairly abject Spurs team,
Mm,
but with one or two great players around him. His work ethic for the team, and he's doing the same at Bayern. And I think you could stick him in at Madrid or Barca. He'd do exactly, and he's done it for England. And he's the and also he's hardworking, puts the team first, good pro.
yeah.
You know, you
Hang
can
on.
see how much he
Hang on.
works,
He scores all sorts of goals as well,
all
doesn't he?
sorts of goals. And if you see his work off the ball, and if you
Yeah,
go and sometimes TV cameras won't pick this up. I've said to you in the past when he's come to Goodison in the past, I've loved watching him how he
yeah,
plays the game.
yeah.
But players like that who can do it, when if you think about it, they've got a lot of pressure on their shoulders, and he's done this now for what 12 years solid every
The,
year.
the reason he's a generational talent is Harry Kane is because he's scored 500 goals in his career to date. That's a generational talent.
Yeah,
500 goals is not to be sniffed at. And he got there quicker than Ronaldo, by the way, which
yeah,
again, I'm going to read out some names who I think, going backwards, are genuinely world class and could always be described as world class. I apologise if I've missed some. I just wrote a list this morning off the top of my head. Messi, Ronaldo CR7, Ronaldo R9, Ronaldinho, Lothar Matthäus, Iniesta, Xavi, Henri, Bergkamp, Roy Keane, Drogba, Makelele, Gerrard, Buffon, Kaka, going further back, Best, Law, Charlton, Keegan, Dalglish, Rush, Gaza, Dino Zoff, Pele, Maradona. That's a list of people. Oh, Zinedine Zidane. I should put him on there. I love Zinedine Zidane.
Johan
Now,
Cruyff.
you'd look at that list and you go, any one of those players at any time in any generation can be compared with any other player, and you'd look at it and go, they were sensational. All of them. I don't. There's anyone on that list I don't think that
In
you
their
wouldn't
yeah in their
describe
in their
genuinely as world class
that
in their
in
pomp.
yeah exactly that in their particular positions and stuff. I totally agree with that, and I also think this discussion also ties. It does kind of link into what we've just been talking about around people falling out of love with football or Premier League football. Because
Yeah.
if you look at how many amazing world class players there used to be,
Oh,
flair players, players that used to really light up a football pitch and play and do things that they probably didn't even think they were going to do 2 minutes earlier or even 30 seconds earlier. Like,
yeah,
or sometimes, I think Dennis Bergkamp, for example, watching him play, he'd want to do magical things on the football pitch, but he probably didn't know what he was going to do until he suddenly saw a certain ball come across and think, I'm going to do this. But he'd
yeah.
try it. Players today don't really do stuff like that. And I just think even going into 70s, 80s, 90s, even into early 2000s, the game was abundant with magical players. But if
Mm,
and maybe other people could come in and go, well, I can give you another list, and these are all world class. But I'm not recalling, or not many same players are coming to mind now that you would put in a world class status for me. They can be very good players, but
yeah.
like Haaland, you could probably say he's world class. He's an absolute beast at what he does.
Mm,
But really, if you think about it, he can sometimes have a game of football where he'll barely touch the ball 4 times, but he might score
Yeah.
2 goals out of those 4 touches. He's almost like a very functional
He's a
player.
world-class finisher. He's a world-class finisher. I
World
don't know
class.
whether
He's definitely
I
world class.
don't know whether he's a world-class footballer. That'd be my view. Going back a bit as well, I think the last genuine world class player who played in the Premier League, and this is a controversial thing because I'll name some in a minute, is I think Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney was world class because of what he could do with the ball, what he did do with the ball, the goals that he scored. I'm not a big Wayne Rooney fan, certainly not as a managerial career, but Wayne Rooney, I'm trying to talk about generational talents you'd pay money to watch.
Yeah,
In his prime, Thierry Henry, you'd pay money to watch, even if he was tearing your own team apart. Bergkamp, the same. Iniesta, Xavi, I never saw Messi live, but you'd be there in 2010, 11, 12. Ronaldo, R9 Ronaldo, Ronaldinho. You're looking at it going, the world class because they get you off your seat, they get you energized, and like you say, they do things that are just
magic.
wow,
Well,
magic factors.
I mean, Luis Suarez, that season at Liverpool when they nearly won the league, he
Fair
was
point.
he was oh my, he was astonishingly good. I mean, honestly, people go back and watch a reel of that season, the goals he scored,
Yeah,
and most of those goals he created himself, and he just played without fear, and he was always looking to score a goal, but he was looking to score goals of any kind, and you don't really. This is only 10 years ago, but it shows how much the game has changed. That you don't
mm,
really see that as much anymore. And I think it comes into how players are coached and the things that they're told to do or not to do anymore. Because
yeah.
it's all about the averages, isn't it? It's all about, well, you can't really do that because that could put us at risk here, and everything else. But it'd be almost fun to just say to a team, off you go, just go out there and have fun, do what you want to
Well,
do.
the bit that gets me right as a fan is if I'm in the stadium and a team is warming up to play against us, because Borough don't have any world class players. I mean, you could argue Janino in his prime for a very short period of time would
I
have
think he
maybe
was.
would
I
have
think he
definitely ticked
was.
that box along with Zola at Chelsea and all that. Right,
Yeah.
but short lived, but brilliant. Now, I think when you're looking at it as a fan, you're looking at the opposition and you're looking and going, how many of those are exciting me? How many of those are frightening me, by the way? How many of those are like, oh my God, they're going to tear us apart today? And I don't think there's players in the Premier League now, with the exception of your Haaland because he's a monster. Salah's had a really poor season this season, but last season, I would say Salah was world class.
Yeah.
And he led to that world class level over a period of time,
Yeah.
and last season was just fantastic. But people are talking about like Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka and people like that. Well, I think Rice is a hell of a footballer on the world stage. Is he world class? Well, he's world class in the current environment against who else he's playing against, but he's not a generational talent who's going to get me off my seat. He's just not. And
He's not.
Bukayo Saka, great footballer, great professional, love what he does, when he's playing for England and taking players on. Doesn't score enough goals, doesn't influence the game enough, spends a lot of his time on his arse, and he's just not world class. And they were talking to him on Talksport the other night, and they're listing all these players. Rodri was on the world stage the best central midfielder for Man City and in world football. He won the Ballon d'Or. But you're not telling me that Ousmane Dembele, who won the Ballon d'Or last year, is world class, because he bloody isn't. He just isn't. Ousmane Dembele is not, never has been, never will be world class. He's a good footballer on the world stage in the current format. He wouldn't get a look in Barcelona's team in 2011, 12, 13. He's not a generational talent. Stop using and banding around the phrase that makes people think these people are better than they are. I've got here Van Dijk. Van Dijk's a great Rolls Royce of a defender in the current situation. But there was a big argument this week on Talksport. Was he better than Ferdinand? Was he better than John Terry? I mean, he's less of a bell end than both of those, to be fair. But was he better than Vidic? Was he better than what they call him, Vincent Company? And you sort of think to yourself, No, he wasn't. He was, on a par with them, but he's not. You wouldn't get excited by it being watching Van Dijk play and what he can do and throwing himself into it. He's just a very good centre half on the world stage. But that world stage, the product that is football, is tainted for me. That's why there's less world class players, and I
I,
think that's why people are falling out with love with it.
I agree, and I think I think now in the way football is, and the fact that it's even more global, more accessible, 24/7, and people talk about it all the time, and there's endless opinions, and I mean, we're doing a pod on football now and talking about it. I think it's a pertinent point because it's all too easy. It seems easier now to just keep banding players as world class.
Yeah.
I agree, and yeah, people need to be clear. We need to be clear with every time we've said this, like you've just said it there. We're not saying these players aren't superb players. They are brilliant players, but to constantly say, "Oh, world class," it's like really. I mean, sometimes you do have to look at players that players are playing with as well. And
Mm.
sometimes measure world class players as players who week in week out deliver or almost deliver most of the time, but they're playing with quite average players. Van Dijk's
Mm.
played with a wealth of superb players, but to your argument of like, okay, if you put Van Dijk with all these other players in the past and everything else, you wouldn't necessarily pick him, would you? Because
No,
he's no different to a lot of the other ones that have played for.
no,
I'm not having a go at him, by the way. I'm just sick of. One thing I do get sick of is people constantly blowing smoke up his arse. I think I
yeah,
told you before, I read someone on social media once, someone said, Virgil van Dijk's redefined defending. And I comment back and said, please, can you explain how he's redefined defending? Not a dicky
nothing.
back. It's like,
No,
just putting it out there for clicks and likes. You haven't really thought of what you're saying because he
yeah,
has redefined defending. He's just a defender. He does it very, very well. But, this is the beauty of, having opinions, isn't it? Some others will come back and bark at us and say, you're absolutely crazy wrong. I'd be like, I like him, but I've never ever looked at him and thought, God, what he does on the
he's
ball is
different
unbelievable.
gravy,
Different.
generational
Yeah,
talent. That's the key for me.
and
And if you and by the very nature of generational talent, by the way, there aren't many of them. I think in every incarnation of football and reinvention of football in a 5, 6, 7 year period, I think we've been lucky that in the 2000s we've had R9 Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Ronaldo, CR7, Messi, Iniesta, Javi, and maybe and certainly Rooney. But I don't know. That's not a lot in 26 years, is it, of talent? And it shouldn't be because genuine world class talent, George Best, Dennis Law, Charlton, Keegan, Dalglish, Rush, Gaza, Pele, Maradona, is rare. It should be rare. So when you are talking to your mates and saying he's world class because he's done, I don't know, a Rabona or a Cruyff Turner, or Johan Cruyff, by the way, should I have him in there? A Cruyff Turner, Rabona, whatever it might be.
yeah,
Yeah. But if they've done that as a move, it means they've got good skills. It means that on the world stage, they're probably a decent player. I don't know, because I haven't seen the squads yet for the World Cup. Who's the ones who are going to get me off my seat? Messi's past his sell by date. Ronaldo's past his sell by date. I'm not sat there going, wow, I can't wait to see. Dot,
I'm,
dot, dot. I don't know who I'm waiting to see because, it would have been Ronaldinho, wouldn't it? It would have been, like you say, probably Suarez in his prime. It would have been going back, Dalglish, Keegan. Well, not Dalglish, he plays for Scotland, but, the Gerrard in his prime and Bergkamp and Henry and people like that. And you look at it and go, France have got a great squad. How many world class players have they got? The guy who won the Ballon d'Or is not world class, and I'll die on that hill telling you Ousmane Dembele is not that guy. He plays alongside a guy called Doué, who's a better player than he is, and he's not world class either. He's a really good young player who may or may not turn out to be world class. What they call the guy at Barcelona, they all spaff about 16, 17-year-old.
oh,
Um, I
Lamine
mean, yeah, you're out, right?
Mal.
Great football on the world stage at the moment. World class. No, he's got some world class tricks about him, but he's not yet a
He might,
generational talent. Might
might
be.
become world class. There's quite a few. It's like Declan Rice and Saka. They might become world class in time. But I also think some of these players who are probably capable of becoming world class, I think the way the game is now, it almost stifles them from becoming world class because they're not allowed to stand out and do exceptional things. I think
Mm,
you could look at the like of Cole Palmer. I think Cole Palmer's got he's got that kind of swagger and fun about him and things he can
mm,
do with football. And when he first went to Chelsea and some of the stuff he can do and some of the stuff he was doing, you think, well, he's got capability to get people off their seat and do things that are world class,
mm.
and he's a really fantastic player, and he might become it. But it's almost like I don't know. Yeah,
Hang on, doing things that are world class in isolation does not make you world class.
no,
What
doesn't.
it does, it means consistently. I think, and I watched Cole Palmer, and apart from his haircut from the council, which I think he's got a bit of George Best about him. He's got a little bit
Yeah,
about that about him. You know, that swagger, that inability to knock him off the ball. He can ride a tackle. He's a skillful little bugger. He's great to watch. Obviously, George Best, women all over him. I'm not sure Cole Palmer's going to have the same fighting him off with a stick that George had, bless him. But the reality of that is um, he has to do that week in, week out, month in, month out, and for England. And he may well be at the end of the World Cup a world class talent because he might have single handedly driven England to win the World Cup, single handedly, maybe alongside Kane and maybe alongside Bellingham, who's another one who's overrated in terms of the phrase world class. Jude Bellingham, great footballer. At the moment, is he world class? I don't
yeah,
know.
and
Not
and this is
yet. Not
and this
yet.
is and this is the thing. People can be entitled to disagree with us, and they might be screaming at us saying this. I agree with you. I think he's a great footballer. I don't think he's done anything yet that really screams I'm the best in my position, and every single week I just rule the roost. You
Yeah.
know, I almost think he's done good things for Madrid, but I don't know, he's almost looks and feels a bit lost at times,
Mm.
and I don't know. I think it comes into that realm of very good player, fantastic generational talent, but is he is he increasing his talent? Is he getting better at all of those things? I don't see.
I want to
I don't
finish with
know.
it. I want to finish with a question for you, right? And what I want to summarise is we started off talking about why people are falling out of love with football, or
Yeah,
the fact that people seem to be falling out of football. It's the product. I hate that phrase, but it is. It's the consumerism. I hate that as well. The cheating, it's the staleness, it's the lack of personality, all that. And we've led to my definition of world class, one, two, or three in the world, walk into any team, generational talent, way ahead of others. Just because you've got world class skills, if you're not using them properly, you're not world class because you're not consistent. Now, I'm going to finish with a question. Let's use Jude Bellingham as a question. I don't know what your answer to this is, by the way. In their prime, and Jude Bellingham is not probably in his prime yet, but Jude Bellingham at his best, Lothar Matthäus at his best. Who do you pick?
oh, for me, Mateus, he
All
was
day long.
he was fabulous,
All
and
day long.
yeah, and if people went back and looked at some reels of it, they might go, what are you talking about? It's like, but he was just unbelievable in that position.
Yeah,
He literally ran the teams that he played for. He was just different class. He was for Germany. He's literally what dragged them through every single week to win the World Cup.
yeah.
He was the linchpin in that team. All the things that he did, everything centered around him. It's like
I might I might have got the left and right wrong here. I'm going to finish with it. I think I know the answer to this. Gary Neville or Philip Lahm?
Philip Lahm. And I'll tell you who else I think was world class. Paul Scholes. I
Oh,
think
absolutely.
in his pomp, Paul Scholes would have got in any single team around the world,
Anywhere.
and everyone would have wanted to play with him because his
Yeah.
read of the game was that good, and he was just fabulous, fabulous, and he could score a really good goal as well from
But he
from anywhere.
but he retired over 10 years ago, and therein lies the problem, which is why we've
There,
all fallen out of love with football, Dom.
yeah, exactly, yeah. So I just don't. You're just not seeing these kind of players anymore. And is that a sign of how the game is being coached now to youngsters and how the game is being played. A lot of the flair's gone out the game, mate. A lot of the
Yeah.
risk, a lot of the jeopardy. It's almost like, how can we play the game now to be as safe as we can to get what we
Mm,
want in this game?
yeah.
You
It's
know,
because of the money, isn't it? We need to be successful for the money, and therefore we need to be, risk free because we don't want to jeopardize the cash. On that basis, mate, what a cracking discussion as ever. Um, I'd like to talk to the audience about what we're doing next week, which is a very special episode, and it's a very special launch, episode 35. I'm going to introduce a very special EFL fan support partner. We're not going to say any more than that. Suffices to say, we are going to go forward and we are going to, as the Half and Half Scar Football Podcast with Nick and Dom, adopt this organisation to add some real value to the fans in the 72. We'll say no more than that. Watch out for that next week. In the meantime, yeah, in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share all usual platforms. Been great to see you again, mate. I know it's been busy. Whatever. Are you coming to the Borough tomorrow? Are you coming to Oxford game tomorrow or not?
I can't now, which I'll
Okay,
cut off area. I was coming, but I can't now. Something's
no
come up.
problem.
So I'll be hopefully up very soon. But yeah, I can't come tomorrow.
And I'll see you anyway at Dortmund, if not before. Right, mate?
Manchester Airport in 3 weeks' time, mate. I think it is.
For the 8 o'clock flight and a pint at 6:30. That'll do the job.
Absolutely. Yeah, looking forward to it, mate. Really
All
enjoyed
right, mate.
it. Speak to you soon, mate.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Cheers, bye.